We are starting this video off on a slide with some really tasty looking food. This is because we are going to go over how to apply a hyperlink to certain words and images. Then, by clicking on that word or image, it will take you to the associated link, whether it is a website or another slide in the presentation. Let's say that I wanted to link this ratatouille to a recipe. That way, the audience could go ahead and perhaps try to make the dish at home by themselves. So go over to the website that you want to link it to. This is the one by Binging with Babish. Go ahead and copy the URL. And once that's done, go back to Google Slides. Now you want to highlight the text that you want to associate that link with. Once that is done, you can go up to this chain icon and click on it. Here you will paste your link and click apply. Once you see that the word is underlined and has become a different font color, you know that the link has been applied correctly. As I mentioned before, we can link another slide on this presentation to our object. Let's say that I wanted to link this potato and leek soup back to our slide on tables where we did the whole food critique thing. What I'll do is once again highlight and go over to the chain icon again. Instead of pasting, this time I will click on the slides in this presentation and find the slide that I want to link it to, which is slide 4, Tables and Food Critique. Click Apply. Since it has changed font colors and is now underlined, you know that the link is applied properly. If you don't like this new look and you want it to go back to the orange color and not be underlined, you can do that by highlighting, going over to underline and underlining it, and going over to this text color and changing it back to the original. Now, while it looks like it doesn't have a hyperlink attached to it, if you click on it, you can see that the link is still associated. Now, links are an important tool to know because it is used a lot when you want to cite information or as well as when you want to link your social medias and etc. We can make our presentations more fun and lively by adding in animations. Animations are special visuals that you can add to move text or pictures on, off, or around your slides. Now, the important thing to know about animations is that you don't want to overdo it. So you don't want to add it to every image and every text that you see, because there is definitely something such as over animation. That being said, let's go ahead and learn how to animate. Here I have an example with 3 pictures, showing an appetizer, an entree, and a dessert. Now, since these denote a course of a meal over a series of time, I don't want all 3 of these photos to just appear all at once. To solve this issue, I would go in and add animations. So, click on the picture that you want to add the animation to, and right click. Now you will go to this animate. This will open up a right side pop-up bar called motion, and you will go down to object animation. Before you do anything, take a quick glance at this preview on the left to make sure you are adding animations to the right object. Now, this first box here is the effects box. So this shows the different effects that Google Slide has. We have effects that move an object onto the screen. We have effects that move it off the screen, as well as effects that move it around the screen. So for this photo, I would just choose fly in from the right. This second box is the when. So this will denote when the animation will happen. If you choose on click, that means the animation will only happen if you prompt it to happen by clicking on the right arrow key or the spacebar. After previous means that it will appear after the previous one just ended. With previous means that it will happen simultaneously with the previous one. Next up, we have the speed bar. This lets you make your animations go faster or slower, but I tend to just leave it at the Google Slide default. Once you added an animation, you know that it is successful if you see this icon to the left of your slide. This icon indicates that there is a motion applied. So either a transition or an animation is on that slide. Now that we know it is successful, we can go ahead and click on this play button. This will let you see a preview of what our slide would look like when we are presenting. As you can see, these two other photos are already here because we have yet to animate them. But since I chose my animation to happen on click, I have to press either the spacebar or the arrow key for the effect to happen. And there it goes. So now we can click stop and go on to animating the two other photos. So click on the photo that you want to animate, click add animation, and go through the steps again. For this one, I will choose zoom in and on click. Now, you can also have more than one animation on an object. To do this, you would click on the same object, add animation again, take a quick look at the preview to make sure that you are adding it to the correct object. Now, just go ahead and choose your second effect. I would choose this spin one. And instead of on click, I want it to happen with the previous. So now, if we click play to see a preview, we can see this will happen and this. So it's zoomed in and spun at the same time. Something to remember is that just because I showed you how to add animations on pictures doesn't mean that you are limited to just that. You can add it to text, shapes, and etc. So you can go ahead and add animations to your slides. Just remember to not overdo it. Let's finish off our slides by adding in transitions. Transitions are basically animations applied on the slide level. So it is the visual effect that you get when you move from one slide to the next. To do so, go to the slide that you want to apply the transition to and go up to the transition button. The same motion sidebar will pop up, but this time you would go over to slide transition. When you click on this dropdown, you will see the different effects that Google Slides offers. I would just choose Cube. Once again, we have the speed bar, but I will leave it as default. And to preview our work, we would go and click play again. So that was our cube, and here is our animations that we just applied in the last video. Let's hit stop. For transitions, we can also apply it to all slides. So this effect that you chose would appear before all the slides. And since they now all have this icon, you know that it worked. But I will undo it. Now, if you don't want this specific transition to happen on every slide, you would have to go through and individually add the effect. You now have the tools to create and design a stunning presentation on Google Slides. Now that we know how to make a simple PowerPoint Let's take it one step further by learning how to use the master view. The master view, or the master slide, controls the theme, the layouts, the background, the colors, the fonts, the font sizes, as well as the positionings of all the slides. The keyword here is all. This means that you should only use the master slide if you want something to be consistent and present on all the slides. If you want something on just one slide, you should go ahead to that slide and make that edit on there. Now that we know what a master slide is, let's actually go ahead and make some changes to it. To access the master slide, we will go over to Slide and Edit Master. Here we will have access to both the master as well as the different layouts. So click on Master, and you can see that it is already preset with the colors, the sizes, and the fonts of the game day theme that we use. Let's say that I didn't like the font that it came with. So I can highlight it, go over to fonts, and change it to a new style, such as Oswald. You can see that all of these other slides automatically follow suit and had their font style changed to Oswald as well. You can also do the same for the body text by highlighting and changing the style, or we can go ahead and increase the font size as well as changing the font color. So instead of this orange color, I can click on this yellow one. Once again, if you look through the layouts, you can see that they all automatically have those same changes applied. Another thing that we can do on our master slide is adding an image. This is really handy and convenient if you are giving a business presentation and you want to insert your company firm or logo on every slide. Now, it would be really inconvenient and tedious to individually go into each slide and insert and then resize and then reposition the logo. So instead, you can insert the image once here and have the master slide add the image onto every slide for you. Since our presentation is on Ratatouille, which is created by Disney Pixar, I will go ahead and find a Disney Pixar logo. Once you find one that you like, you will go ahead and copy the image and paste it back onto Google Slides. So this is a little big, so I will just resize and reposition until I like the way it looks. So let's put it up here. Since everything automatically saves, we can just exit out and take a look at our new presentation. As you can see, all of our slides will now have this logo on the top, as well as have a new font style and font color. Something else that we can do on Master View is change the positionings of the layouts. Now, what I mean by this is since we use the game day theme, there is this blue rectangle interfering with our background image. And as you can see, I can't remove it or even select on it from this view. In order to do so, we have to go back to Master. So Slide and Edit Master. Here, instead of clicking on Master, I will go to the layout template that I want. Since I want to edit the title slide, I will click on the first slide. Now I will have access to all of the attributes on this slide, meaning I can click on this blue rectangle and hit delete. Now, when we exit out, we can see that there is no longer this blue rectangle interfering with our new Paris skyline. Master Slide is a really powerful tool for you to take advantage of when it comes to customizing and formatting your own slides. In this video, we will be talking about diagrams. Diagrams are visually appealing ways to display information, so think in terms of timelines, flowcharts, and cycles. To add a diagram, you would go over to Insert and go down to Diagram. This will open up a side pop-up with a bunch of different diagram types, such as grid, hierarchy, timeline, process, relationship, and cycle. Since I am doing an example slide on the character relationship, I will go ahead and choose the relationship diagram. This will then bring me to a bunch of pre-made templates that are all catered towards describing and explaining relationships. Now, before you go and choose a template, you first have to determine how many steps or branches that your relationship web should have. If I go ahead and choose 3 steps, you can see that all of these templates switch to have 3 parts. Let's go back to 2. And next up is the color. Now, this step is optional, but you can choose a color to match your theme. So I can just go ahead and choose blue. And once again, if you look at the templates, you can see that they all have this blue scheme to it now. Now that we are finished with the steps and color, we can go ahead and choose the template that we want. I'll just go for this first one. And once you click on it, it should appear on your slide right away. Since these are ready-to-use templates, you can simply double-click to replace the words with your own information. So I can just make something up about how the relationship between Remy and Linguini end up making them such a great duo. So let's add that right now. Now, right below it, we have this little blurb. This is where we can go ahead and add in some more information about our corresponding characters. And for this, I will just add in sample text. Now, let's say that this diagram was too small to fit what you want. But since this is just a template, and everything is completely editable and customizable, we can highlight the entire diagram and drag on the edges to make the diagram a little bit bigger and easy to work on. So now you would have a lot more space to continue writing your text. You can also change the positionings of each individual box. To do that, you would just click on the box and move it. So let's say I didn't want all of them to be directly next to each other. I can drag it out a little so they all have a little space in between. You can also even change the color of the boxes. Even though I already chose the blue color theme back in the diagram slide bar, we can change it again now. Let's say that I decided that I'd rather have the background color be gray. I will click on the object, go over to fill color, and choose my new gray. And here we go. As you can see, diagrams make your slide look a lot better than just listing it out in bullet point. It is a lot more structured and visually appealing to the eye. The next topic that we are going to cover is image masking. Image masking is a non-destructive process of image editing. You can use it to hide or review specific portions of an image, as well as manipulate that image into shapes. Since Ratatouille takes place in Paris, which is also known as the City of Light, we can add in a photo of Paris here. So I found one that I like of the Paris sunset. So I will right click, copy it, and paste it back onto our slide. Wait for it to load. And once your picture is on the slide, you can select on it and head up to the arrow right next to the crop icon. When you click on this arrow, you will see the 4 categories that we saw when we used our shape function. Here, if we click on any one of these, that image that we just pasted of our Paris sunset will be morphed into that shape. So for example, if I click on the heart, you can see that it now has a heart shape masked onto the photo. So let's undo. I like to use this image masking technique, and the shape that I use quite often is this frame one. Once I have this masked on, I will right click, go over to rotate, and click on rotate counterclockwise 90. So this will bring our picture into a 270-degree rotation, and I will just resize and reposition as I see fit. So that's what I'm doing now. Once we have this, I will go back and paste in our sunset photo of Paris again. And this time, I will resize so that I can put it in the middle here. But this photo is actually a little bit too big for my taste, so I can go over to the crop icon and make this a little bit smaller and hit enter. Now we can image mask again, and this time I will choose this shape. I think that this is a really cool and interesting look, especially if you do it in the form of a title slide. But you can just go ahead and have fun with this feature, because I think this is a really interesting tool to play around and manipulate your photos with.